Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
The coroner and I stand here today and talk about a very tragic incident that we had last night where a 14-year-old lost his life. It's senseless. It doesn't make sense. We have a family that's grieving. We have a community that's grieving over a 14-year-old who was shot. His name is Cyrus Cermak Belton. His family's been notified. We just talked to the mom just a few minutes before we came into here. We've also met with different groups. I think it's very important that we get the truth out. There's a lot of different narratives that's being circulated that it's not true, but the facts are very disturbing as they are. This happened about 8 o'clock last night at a convenience store on Parklane where the victim went in. The owners of the convenience store suspected him of shoplifting. He did not shoplift anything. We have no evidence that he stole anything whatsoever. There was a verbal confrontation inside the convenience store. The victim went outside. He took off running. The son of the owner of the convenience store gave chase. The father, who owns the convenience store, joined in the chase. He was armed with a pistol. They chased a young man towards Springtree Apartments. Young man fell down. He got back up. At some point, the son said that he had a gun, that the victim had a gun, and we did recover a gun that was close to his body. At that point, the father shot the young man in the back. He was not laying on the ground. He did not have his hands up. The coroner will go through a little bit more details after her autopsy today, but it was, regardless, even if he had shoplifted 4 bottles of water, which is what he initially took out of the cooler and then he put them back, even if he'd done that, that's not something you shoot anybody over, much less a 14-year-old, but you just don't do that. This location has had lots of incidents in the past, shoplifting incidents. Been confrontations between the owners of the store and customers and people in there actually shoplifting. But you don't do what happened last night. We're charging the owner of the store, Rick Chow, with murder. He should be arrested at any moment now, but he is charged with murder. I think that is significant for the community to know that we went through our process of our investigation. We had to wait on the coroner to do our autopsy this morning. We had to talk to witnesses. We had to make sure that we had the facts that we've been able to find. Again, what clouded the issue is that the victim did have a gun. There was a confrontation. We had to make sure that those who fired the shots did not have that gun pointed at them, and they did not, in legal terms, be in fear of their life. And Rick Chow shot this young man in the back, and he killed him. And he is going to be appropriately charged with murder, which is what he should be charged with. Again, these are the facts of the case. This is the facts that the community needs to look at. Community needs to look at a tragic incident occurred, that the person responsible is being arrested and charged appropriately, that we did our investigation as quick as possible, but we did it in a way that we made sure that we did everything we were supposed to do. The coroner's done everything that she has to do. We work as a team when it comes to investigations like that. She has to rely on us, and we rely on her, and that's what we've done. So I'm going to ask the coroner if she'll share a little bit.
14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton of Columbia died from a single gunshot wound to his right lower back. There were no other injuries that could have contributed to his cause of death. The fatal shot caused significant damage to his heart and hemorrhaging. This is an ongoing investigation. There is no indication that he was shot inside of the store. Again, as the sheriff has mentioned, controlling the narrative is very important here. We've seen lots of things on social media today, even starting last night with people saying that he was kneeling down, that they were standing over him. That is not true. We don't have any indication that the shot occurred with him in that position. It seems to be consistent with someone who was running away from the assailants. And so we are confident that this was done in a manner that we will now classify as a homicide. This was not an accidental shooting by any means. This was a very intentional shooting, and unfortunately, Cyrus Carmack Belton lost his life. Are there any questions for me?
Could you spell Cyrus's
Yes.
first and last name for us?
Cyrus. His last name is Carmack Belton. It's hyphenated. CARMACK-BELTON. And he was 14 years old.
I've stood up here too many times and talked about guns and what these guns are doing to our community. And this was, unfortunately, an example of that last night. Once he is booked, we'll provide a mugshot for you. I will ask, though, that people pray for this family. They've lost a 14-year-old middle school student. We've contacted the school district. They're very aware of what happened, so they'll take appropriate actions with school tomorrow. It's just one of these things, you just stand up here and you shake your head because you just don't, just no reason for something like that to happen. So, questions?
Yeah, so Sheriff, we have a video that's been circulating on social media that allegedly shows the owner here assaulting young people. Is RCSD aware of that video?
Right. There's been many instances there where this store owner's confronted people that's been shoplifting. There's been assaults on him and his family too. He has not been charged with any of these other cases because they didn't rise to the level where he should have been charged. Last night, it rose to that level, and that's why he's charged with murder today.
Right, so could you just answer why he hasn't been charged in the past in any of these?
Because there was shoplifting incidents confronting him, and then there's been fights afterwards. He's been assaulted again, defending himself, and some of these other cases. We're aware of them. We have reports on them. We'll provide those reports, and you can read in the reports the facts of the case. So don't go by just that clip of a video that you have. You have to look at the whole story, and that's what we do. We look at the facts. That's why we're standing here today, because we looked at the facts that happened last night, and we've charged him appropriately.
So is it confirmed that the 14-year-old had a gun on his person? I know you said it was recovered near his body.
Right now, we don't have anything that says that he did not have that gun on him.
How long was the owner there at the convenience store?
How long?
many years has he been there, or you know?
No, he's been there quite some time. Some of these reports go back years, so I don't know how long he's owned that store.
And could you just answer again why the owner wasn't apprehended last night as deputies were out there investigating this, and it was not until today?
Well, we had to look at talk to the witnesses, get statements. We had to have the coroner tell us exactly where this young man was shot. If he'd been shot in the front and he was armed with a gun, it'd be a different story. But the fact that he was shot in the back, we had to wait on that. We had to wait and look at the whole case, not just a part of it. You know, the fact that, you know, the young man's allegedly had a gun on him. Did he point it at him? Did he threaten with him? If he'd have done any of that, then this shooting may have been justified. That's what we had to determine. So I think we've determined it pretty daggum quick. You know, less than 24 hours after we have a very intense investigation, a complex investigation, we're charging somebody for murder. And that's pretty good.
How are deputies able to locate Mr. Chow today?
We made contact with him, and He was supposed to turn himself in. He has not done, he did not do that originally. He's met with an attorney, and his attorney's bringing him in.
To confirm the address of the convenience store, is it 7441 Park Lane?
That's correct. Correct. But that is not where the shooting occurred. Shooting occurred on Springtree Drive. After the young man ran from the store, ran around, that's where. So it was not even on the property of the store. Okay.
Would there be any consideration for the sheriff's department to consider shutting down the convenience store
For what reason?
in light of, you know, the charge of murder for the owner?
That's not something that we address on that. I mean, we're gonna make the appropriate charge. He's charged with murder. And closing, that's not something that we would even look at doing, is closing it down.
Even about an hour ago, there were citizens protesting in front of the gas station right now, so.
Right. And how we've addressed that is prior to this press conference, I met with community leaders from various organizations that represent some of those that are out there, where we went over the facts of the case, so they know exactly the truth and the facts of the case, so they can go back to the people they represent and let them know what the facts are, not the narrative that's the false narrative that the coroner's talked about that's being put out there. They know what the facts are now, so they'll go back and say, these are the facts of the case. He's been arrested. He is going to be arrested. He is charged with murder. There's nothing else we can do to him besides arrest him and charge him with murder, and that's what we're doing. And I think that's what the community expected us to do, not so much based on the false narratives, but on the facts of this case, and that's what we've done.
Did Mr. Child legally own his firearm? You know?
We believe he had a concealed weapons permit, so yes, as far as legally owning that weapon, yes, he did. And he's on his property, so he can have a weapon on his property. That's, again, you don't shoot somebody in the back who's not a threat to you. That's the same standard that we do, same standard that cops have to live by. You have to be defending someone's life or your life, and there has to be immediate danger to you at that point. And someone who is running away, and there's no indication that he's pointing a gun at anybody when he's running away, he's shot in the back. So that's,
Also, there's no indication that this young man was fighting with the store owner prior to him running out of the store. He has no wounds on his hands, no scratches. There is no other injury to his body other than the abrasion he sustained when he fell the first time and the gunshot wound to his right lower back. So I want to be very clear about that. We've seen on social media again that there was some physical altercation. That is not true.
there's one official voice about this case, and that's the two of us standing up here today. That is the official voice. What else has been put on social media, don't go by that. You go by what we say, and that's why we're here standing here today giving you the facts. Thank you.
Thank you.